Good afternoon. Hey, Jillian. Hey, Kim. Philip, welcome. Liza, brilliant. Aiden.
Wonderful. Just waiting for a few more people to join before we begin. All right. Looks like everybody's connecting in. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am Jonathan from Generate, and welcome to this month's important webinar on the topic of uncover opportunities in times of adversity. Today, we have two fantastic speakers and experts in business, leadership, and accounting, Craig Yardley and Jennifer Myers, who are both passionate about helping businesses succeed. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items to mention. At the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A button that will pop up the Q&A box where you can enter your questions, and Craig and Jennifer will address these questions towards the end of the webinar. Also on your screen, there is a chat function, and you can toggle who to send your comments to, whether that be to everyone on the webinar or to the panelists and hosts only. Finally, just to mention, we are recording this webinar, so if you would like a copy of this webinar to share it later on, please let us know via the chat and we can arrange this for you after the webinar. Now, without further ado, please welcome Craig and Jennifer.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. Hey, team. It is so good to see you again this month. Of course, we're all dialing in from home, and I've got myself set up so that I live out in the country outside at Hamilton, so I am getting myself set up so that I can use my cable that directs me right into my modem. So I'm kind of in the middle of my living room at the moment. So the session today is a bit of a pivot from what we were going to deliver, and I'm so glad to see that so many of you have opted to join us, which is fabulous. So moving forward, let's dive in really quickly and we'll just kind of get going. And I've got two laptops set up. I've got this one where I can talk to you, and I've got some notes over here on the side. So if you see me looking this way, I'm checking my notes. But so let's get rolling for today. So welcome. I hope you're all holding up and sorting out kind of what we're going through. So we're going to talk about that a bit today. All right. So moving forward, we are Generate Business and Life Solutions. For those of you that may not have joined us before in one of these webinars, we specialize in working with people like you, folks in the medical and dental industry, all over New Zealand. So Craig, would you like to take a second and just briefly introduce yourself?
I was wondering when you're going to take a breath, actually, to give me an inroad, but you just seem to go on and on.
There you go.
Yeah, welcome, people, and obviously we're all in a different space than what we're used to being. You're in my home office at the moment. I'm just live outside of Tiamuru. If there's any noise in the background, it's either the dogs or the four children who are meant to be doing school today. And apologies for the mess behind me, but that's my winter jacket storage area for when we go out to the car and go out to do kids sports, which who knows if that's going to happen this year. So look, it's a difficult time, something no one on this call will have been through. And I think even when I think about my parents, they are saying that they've never been through it as well. So all we can do is go a day at a time and do the best that we can so that we come out the other end. Brilliant. And usually Jennifer and I are sitting next to each other and we're bouncing off each other and we can see what's going on, and we may be a little bit more static this time because we're working across a few kilometres of distance, but at least, hey, that's keeping our 2 metres minimum happening.
More like 20 kilometers happening, yeah. So thank you for that, Craig. And yes, it is a time like I have never seen before in my lifetime either. So this has been really interesting. And we're being affected just like you guys are. So we're learning how to work differently, to interact differently, and hopefully.
So obviously you can see Jennifer's having a few internet problems being just outside of
We can still translate
Hamilton.
to, oh no, have I gone quiet?
You're sliding in and out. Yeah, it's actually quite nice to see you, or giving us actually an inroad to being able to say something, because you go dead still, nothing happens.
Wow, great. Okay, so I'm going to carry on. What I might try to do is, let's see if I can do this real quick.
So while Jennifer's working that out, people, if you've been on the calls or webinars before, you know that Jennifer's far more talkative than me. It's part of our different personality styles. So if I have to jump in and talk while Jennifer goes into stop mode, then please persevere. The idea is at the end of the call, you will still end up with some information that will be beneficial to you moving forward.
Absolutely.
So there we go. She's dropped off a video that might speed things up a bit.
Yes, you're not going to, you're seeing two of my faces because Jonathan's a co-host under me, but so I'm going to drop off my video because sometimes that helps so that you can at least hear the audio. All right, so we have a couple of chats here. Brilliant. Okay. So what we're going to do, you've just heard from Craig. He's one of the dynamic duo here at Generate Business and Life Solutions, and I'm the other half of the dynamic duo that run these webinars and that kind of focus in on bringing you guys value every month. So these sessions that we offer are basically based around what we do for clients, which is strategy, planning, growth, and exit. So the 4 areas that we help our clients with basically goes from inception to exit. How do you make sure that your strategy suits you even during times like these, making sure that you've got goals and things in place that you're continuing to move forward on? How can you grow out the other side of this whole thing, right? So we're focusing with that on clients right now. And exit, when it becomes time to step away from the chair, what does, or from the office, what does life look like, and what is next for you? So how we do that, we form relationships with all of our clients. We get to know you and your practice so that we can really walk alongside you as your trusted advisors and consultants, professional to professional. We provide education in a wide range of formats, not just these free sessions that we offer on a monthly basis, but one-to-one with clients, with your teams, and really provide you with as many resources as we have in our library to help you move forward in the areas that you need support around. So that's how we do what we do. Why us? We're New Zealand professionals serving New Zealand professionals. We've got expertise not only on the business side of things, but the people side of things as well. We're certified members of the International John Maxwell team. We're certified leadership coaches and DISC communication consultants. So we've gone above and beyond to do a few specialist things that not very many people can do here in New Zealand, which is great. We have a solution for every budget. We are big enough to have a team of extended experts in all those different areas, but small enough to customize what we do to what you need. And we come to you, or we work like this, which is great. So that's us, team, for today. What we're going to focus on are 2 main things: getting clear on how we need to show up as leaders for our teams, our families, and our communities right now, and identifying and capitalizing on opportunities that might exist right now. Believe it or not, there are some opportunities. So it's kind of really digging into some of those things. We're going to talk about what's coming up in the next few months and an offer that we've got going and how to get in touch with us. So that's kind of what's on tap for the next 52 minutes or so, 52 minutes or less. So ultimately, when we think about what we do as leadership coaches, Craig and I have access to John Maxwell and his team on a regular basis, and he's been really active lately and setting a great example for us around leadership. And one thing that I caught that he shared a couple of weeks ago on some Facebook Live sessions was the concept of leaders aren't made in times of adversity. Our choices over the years shape our character and our ability to influence. Adversity simply reveals the results of those choices. So basically, leaders are revealed in times of crisis. They show up. Would you agree with that, Craig?
Oh, definitely. It's one of those things that, talking to the clients that I've been talking to through this period, it's not just getting through to your, getting your day-to-day stuff done, because there's not that many people who are essentials, but you've got to be aware, your team needs your help at this time. So, for example, one of the things we did early in the go, once everyone went home, is we set up a twice a day catch-up over Zoom, just like our morning and afternoon teas that we used to have, just for a bit of a chin wag and see how things are going, any help, any assistance we can give. And we also are able to talk through what's happening out in the world, because no one's been through it. No one knows what's going to happen. And by talking and keeping in communication with your team, it makes them feel more comfortable that we're going through this together. It's not a them and us situation.
Absolutely. So it's making sure that we as leaders, and this first point here, we need to show up, right? And we're going to talk about different ways we need to show up. So we as leaders need to define reality for those who we lead, our teams, our families, our friends, our communities, people who watch us, and people are watching you all the time. We did a session I believe it was in November, around leadership, and very much focused around how you influence the people around you and what kind of example you're setting. It could be a good one, or it could be not a not so good one. So how do we need to step up? We need to define reality. And when we think about defining reality, basically what I mean in that sense is, welcome to 2020, another year, another crisis. Now, I am not in any way, shape, or form minimizing what we're going through at the moment. It is unprecedented. I've not experienced anything like this, as we've talked about. Neither have you, most of the time, most of you. The reality is, it's not the first thing that we faced, and it won't be the last thing that we're going to face. So you, as a leader, will be able to remind your team and those you lead of this fact. We will get through this. This is something that, is what John Maxwell says is an intense time of difficulty requiring a decision. That'll be a turning point. That's his definition of what a crisis is. So yeah, there are many points right now and decisions that all of us are making that affect how we're going to be doing business moving forward.
And I think, Jennifer, we've got, that list does remind us that things bad happened.
Yep.
But I think for the majority of people who are alive today, they haven't been through a situation where business has stopped effectively for 4 weeks.
Yep.
We had the Great Depression back in the 30s, of which a lot of grandparents maybe some people on the call are old enough to have the parents have been through it. But in terms of the basically New Zealand stopping and people effectively having job scares, I think, for want of a better word, that they may have a job, they may not have a job, with people talking about unemployment maybe getting up to 10%, 15%, 25%, whatever it might be. We have never been through that, even if you look through all of those over the lifetime of most people. So we're all in a learning curve. We're all in a how do we deal with this so that we come out better on the other side.
And I think that's one of the things that, even though this is, it is a different situation, it is a unique situation compared to things that have happened in the past. Again, it won't be the last thing that we come through. So how do we maintain that level-headedness and remain steady through the duration of what's happening? And that's kind of really what we'd like to focus on today as we move forward.
And I think the mindset here has got to be, we are all going through it. You know, the number of times previously where businesses go, I'm the only one doing this. This only affects me. Well, reality is, when you work across a few business groups, everyone faces the same things, just in a different variant. And so, I guess the beauty of what we're going through now is everyone is going through it. It's not just you or me, it's everybody.
And everyone's struggling, and everyone's finding their way through it in a different way. So I think the key is to reach out to your inner circle, reach out to the professionals around you who help you, reach out to your team, your family, those people who can support you and help you through this time. I think that's really key. And we talk about social distancing and physical distancing. Don't socially distance yourself. Physical distancing is really important, but
there we go. Another quiet spell from Jennifer.
But reach out to those people who can help. There you go. Oh, did I freeze again? Dang it.
Yeah,
all right.
froze. Yeah, maybe you do need to turn your
I think I
video
shall.
off. Yep.
Yeah. There we go. We'll just keep me off. It's just harder for you to know when I'm going to take a breath if you can't see me, Craig.
That's okay. And look, I apologize too. My eyes are looking to my left, which is probably your right, because I can't get the screen that has all the data on it across to be underneath my camera. So my apologies for that. I'll sort that out for next time.
Hey, we're making it work, right? There you go. So the second way we need to show up for those people that we lead is to limit the noise, right? So limiting the noise basically means, where are you getting your information? Make sure you're getting it from credible sources. Limit your exposure to media, to Facebook. I mean, we can get blow by blow 24/7 coverage of what's happening now. Is it really necessary? I don't think so. As long as you're informed enough to know what you need to know, I think making sure that you are protecting your sanity and protecting your focus is really important. How have you found this, Craig, limiting the stuff that comes at you about this?
I guess I've always been one for limiting that sort of noise anyway, because, you know, gone are the days when I'll sit down and watch 1 news or 3 news or whatever it is for an hour, because I've got more important things to do in the day, either with family or work related. So I tend to just flick through the apps, whether it's Stuff or the Herald app, look at the ones that I deem important, and read the ones that I think are affecting myself or my clients, and then just work. So I can generally get through the news in about 10 minutes a day. Whereas my wife's a little bit different. She will sit through the live broadcast of what's going on, because she just likes to take all that in. So, you know, we've all got different personality styles, and we just got to look at how we deal with it ourselves. But keeping the news to a minimum is good, because you've got to remember, journalists are there to write the news with their blinkers on. And so sometimes it's not necessarily the right stuff we need to hear. I mean, just look what's happening over the last few days. We will open early, we will come out of lockdown early, or we won't. And there's 2 trains of media thought going through that, and none of us know what it is. So to my mind, until you know, why bother?
Perfect. So something that my clinical psychologist hubby told me the other day, I was about to hop on a webinar with another group of folks, and he said, you know, just remind people that everyone right now, your patients, your team, the people that you lead, need to hear 3 things from you. The first is calm, right? So 3 things you need to be putting out right now. One is calm. The other is certainty or hope, right? So hope that we can and we will come through this, and you've got a plan. Even if you don't know all the steps of the plan, you've got a plan. And positive action. I think people sometimes, when they look to their leaders, look for direction and look for forward movement and positive movement. So what can you do in those instances to provide calm, certainty, and positive action and reassurance to those you lead?
And it's interesting,
Now,
I talked to my team about this the other day, and I've talked to a couple of committees that I'm on. Everyone seems to be focused on the lockdown will finish on 22nd or 23rd, and then everything's going to be back to normal. The issue, as I see it, and I've talked to these groups about, we're not going to be back to normal in a week's time. We don't know what's going to happen in a week's time. And for my team, because we are able to work from home at the moment, while we enjoy the social interaction being in the office, I've said to them, even if we come out of lockdown, which is level 4, and move down to level 3, we don't know what level 3 looks like yet. And it may well be we're going to have more time at home, however long that might be. And so I think it's been able to talk through the relevant stuff. So, you know, you can probably tell from my voice, I'm reasonably calm. I'm letting my team know ahead of time that, look, we don't know. We're talking about certainty. I'm certain that we don't know, which seems to be an oxymoron, but it's reality. We don't know what next week's going to look like. We don't know what the week after that's going to look like. But I think as long as the team can see that you're working towards and looking ahead, they will recognise that we're all doing it for the same thing. And the positive action is bringing it to their attention, because some people were just hung up on lockdown's finished, it's all back to normal. And I think they do need to understand it's not. It won't be, and it will be a while before it is.
So around that providing hope, your team, your patients, your family, everybody needs that hope right now. And I'm not talking about blind optimism, because optimism is passive, right? The people that you lead need you to be active now and provide positive direction. Show them the way, even if you don't exactly know every step. You can take the first few and ask them to follow you. Then call on your inner circle, those people that you trust and who you go to when you need support, as well as your team, to help you sort out what the following steps need to be. That's providing hope and positive action. The definition of hope: a feeling of expectation and desire for a particular thing to happen, right? So that's expectancy, positive expectancy. All right, focus on opportunities. So when we think about showing up and helping people to focus on opportunities, I'm not the first person that's ever said there's an opportunity in adversity. Albert Einstein once said, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. So as leaders, we need to remember that even though the sky might be falling for some of those around us, it isn't necessarily falling for us, because we need to remain focused on the things that we can control, like opening up to opportunity. And unfortunately for many of us, we don't appreciate the fact that without adversity, we may have never opened our minds or made the time to look for opportunities. Adversity tends to kind of bump us out of our comfort zones and helps us to get creative. That old phrase, necessity is the mother of invention, is kind of coming to mind here. And that's never more true than right now. Would you agree, Craig, that there are opportunities that are open to us right now, even though it seems dire?
There's always opportunities. And I guess the benefit we have at the moment, and you know, you can either be a doom person at the moment, or you can be an optimistic person. The opportunities we have at the moment are what we are able to grab hold of ourselves. It's about using some of the downtime to do stuff you've never had time to do. Whether it's upskilling yourself through courses you can do, upskilling your team through courses they can do. And I'm not going to jump in too much more because, you know, that's the sort of stuff we're doing with our team, you know, and it's just find the opportunity and make the most out of what's happening around you.
I think the first step of that is to kind of think beyond the short term. So kind of looking beyond that, I was on a call the other night with a different group of folks, and there was a woman on there who was talking about, she's kind of a mindset expert, and she was really talking about how good leaders right now are going to be thinking beyond the next few months and are going to be communicating really regularly and calmly with their teams about how things can look. So, you know, even though it might be short-term pain, what pain do you all have to bear now in order to come out the other side even more fit for purpose? So this friend I was talking to on the call, she has a husband who's a pilot, or used to be a pilot with Air New Zealand. And she was giving an example of piloting a plane. And she said, when you're in the pilot seat, you can take that plane up high enough that you see so far into the distance. So I think for us right now, we need to really kind of, at least mentally, bring ourselves up. And for today, for the next 40 minutes, to bring ourselves up and think from that big picture perspective, so that we have the long view with regard to your practices and where you're heading. What do you want to accomplish, right? What do you want from your business and from your life? This is a great time to revisit your vision for your practice. If you could remake it from scratch, knowing what you know now, what would it look like? And perhaps there are ways to get closer to that now that you've got some space to reflect. Does that make sense, Craig?
It does. So I was just looking for something I saw this morning to bring in a bit later on. Yeah, I guess you've got to make sure you don't overwhelm yourself through this period, because the thing I saw this morning, and it's about the disc personalities we've talked about before in terms of what people are. A lot of 69% of people are what we call an S personality, which is supportive, and they are the ones who are potentially going to be struggling through this, because they are the ones who hate change the most. Mm-hmm. And guess what? We're going through a period of change. And so, we need to be understanding who we're working with and what their personality styles might be, so that we can help support them the best we can. So that's an example here about thinking creatively about how you can strengthen. Because, I mean, even without this, knowing your personality styles, fantastic strength to knowing your business. So you've got the time now. Let's look at how you can achieve that.
Yep, absolutely. So when we think, revisiting your vision, and that idea of kind of revisiting the vision that you had for your practice, does it look like you want it to look, right? If it doesn't, invest some time to consider how it could be done after you're allowed to return to the building, if you're in the dental industry, or if you're, even if you're, those of you who are on the call today, there's a lot of dentists, but we have several practice managers in medical practices as well. So you are probably busier than you've ever been and are having some difficulty perhaps setting aside time to do this activity. But for those of you whose offices are closed, a great time to kind of revisit and have a think through that vision. Now, we work with our clients on 5 main operational areas. That's marketing, conversion, delivery, patient nurturing, and finance. And we've got over 660 different strategies that can help you improve across all those areas. So let's quickly kind of give a think to each one of those just for a moment here, and possibly look at a couple different opportunities you might have in each one of those areas. Oops, sorry. Marketing. Let me go back. Marketing. So when we think about marketing, I've run lots of sessions recently around marketing and staying visible. And a lot of people have come back to me and said, gosh, I just feel funny about marketing right now. It feels wrong. Should I still do it? And I say, absolutely. If you're not staying visible to your target market or to those patients that you want to bring into your practice over time, you know, if you're disappearing off the radar, when they're able to come back around, you're not going to be there because you haven't been putting yourself out there. You're not going to be under consideration. Craig, would you agree with that? This is still the time to market.
The thing with marketing is it takes a lot of lead time. And
Yep.
so if you have downtime with nothing happening because you think that's the worst thing you can be doing, it's like pushing a boulder down the hill. It takes a lot of effort to get it going. But once it gets going, it goes reasonably quickly. And if you stop, it's going to be hard to get it going again. And I think you'll see quite a few businesses out there are still marketing, but they're going to be marketing in a different style. You know, you're not going to see your newspaper adverts that you used to see. I think, you know, this is going to be pushing a lot more people to online marketing because, you know, the world is now effectively had to go online, being not able to move out of the house. So yeah, great opportunity to jump in there and start that process.
And I think the key to this is you're not going to, as Craig said, you're not going to be marketing in the same way. You're going to be sharing different information. You're going to be helping, right? So it's like, stop marketing, start helping. What can you do? What expertise do you have? What knowledge do you have? What value can you bring to the table and put out there to the world that says, hey, we really know our stuff and we care about people and this is how we do it. So lots of different things that you can do. You can provide humor. We mustn't lose our sense of humor through all of this. I think that helps to keep us sane. So even in your marketing, not being afraid to use appropriate humor to kind of help lighten things a bit because people just need that bit of a break. So yeah, how do you do that? Have a Facebook profile for your practice. If you don't have one, sort one out. It's a really great time to sort out your social media plan and a posting strategy. Sort out monthly topics. Post something each week of value that supports that topic. And I think, Craig, you'll see this too, that two of the expenditures in many practices and businesses that goes out the window at this time tend to be marketing and training, right? They're seen as nice to haves, not necessaries, but I would venture to say they're necessary.
And look, if you've got people at home that you're paying even at the subsidy level of 80%, training is a great thing to be focusing on now because at least you're getting something in return for what they're getting paid for.
And when you think about your marketing as well, you may want to, you know, the old phrase I heard, double down on things that are really going to get you a good return. Invest in good marketing that's going to get you in front of the people you want to get in front of. That is an investment over time. It's not an expenditure if you do it right, or it's not an expense if you do it right. Craig may disagree, but yes, from an accounting perspective. When we think about conversion, right, now that you've got people's ear and people that you want to work with in the community, and depending on, you know, which industry, whether you're on the dental or the medical side, there are ways that you can cement a potential patient's desire to use you when the time comes. And again, this revolves around showing that you care. Show testimonials from your clients. Let others speak for you. And there are ways that you can do this and maintain that proper tone. Ensure that you've got a process in your practice for how you induct every new patient, how you make them feel while they're with you. If that person who walks through the door for the first time has an amazing experience, you just lock them in, but you've got to keep it up, right? And if every team member kind of lives and breathes your clinic's way of doing things that's patient-centered, then you're going to strengthen your position coming out of this as long as you execute consistently. So it's a great time to revisit your new client experience and kind of bring it up to scratch. Craig, how do you feel about that statement? I'm just going to toss to you because you can't see me.
I'm just thinking as you're talking that if I was sitting as a viewer, I'm thinking, why are these guys talking about marketing and conversion and that sort of stuff at this time? Surely there's other stuff. Well, there's going to be businesses out there yesterday that won't be there tomorrow, and it'll be across all industries. And so your industry won't be any different. So you will have an opportunity coming up of picking up clients that you wouldn't have otherwise had access to. Now, you want to be the first port of call. You want to be the one that they'll choose to go to first, so that you have longevity in your business and you're not one of those that falls by the wayside.
Brilliant. Thanks for that point. And that's awesome. And not that that's a bit grim, but it's absolute reality. If you can access new patients, bring new patients in, show them you care and take care of them, then that's a great opportunity.
And
when
before you move on, Jennifer, there's a Q&A. There's a Q&A there I think would be worthwhile bringing in at this point.
Oh, carry on. If you can see that, go ahead and click it for me.
Yep, it's clicked. Can you see it?
Let me see. I also think as a leader, our team needs to see our vulnerability with this situation, and that's a team effort. Oh, really good point. Thank you, Co. So absolutely. Craig, I remember you and I having a conversation a couple of years ago about whether you should share a specific experience that you had had with our team. And, you know, you said, I'm a little bit afraid because I think it might make me seem vulnerable. And I said, absolutely, go for it, because people need to know that you feel the same things they feel, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got to remember that we are all human beings. That's our starting DNA. Yeah. And just because you're a leader doesn't mean you're not a human being. I know there's some human beings out there that stuck up the leadership quadrant in terms of the way they act and stuff like that, but most leaders are good leaders, and the team need to know who you are, what makes you tick. And I think being vulnerable is a good way to lead your team through this. So thanks, Co. I think there's a good point brought up.
And for some people that's harder than others. I know for me, I'm pretty much an open book, but Craig, your personality style, and we know this about each other, your personality style makes that a little more challenging, but still, it's just, that was great. Okay, cool. So when we think about delivery, this is how you deliver your experience to your patients. This is, again, a great time to really pick through every single contact point that you have with your patients. Are there ways that you can do things slightly differently? How do you harness technology and reach more patients? How can you access new and innovative treatments? When you think about your patient experience and the ways that they interact with your practice before they even walk through the door, how can you make that even better and make it the impression and the experience that you want them to have? So we've got a resource called the +1% worksheet that I'm happy to send you if you ask for it. So just type something in either the chat or the Q&A section that says, yes, please, and I'll email it out to you. But it basically is a worksheet that helps you visualize every single possible point of patient contact in your practice and really think about it from a how can we do it 1% better approach, right? If that makes sense. So little tiny things that you often don't even think about, like walking around the outside of your clinic and picking up, trash off the ground every day or rubbish off the ground, keeping things neat and tidy. Every bit, your website presence, your Facebook and social media. Is this making sense to you, Craig? Yes?
Oh, definitely. Yep.
So every bit of your clients experience your practice before they ever walk through the door, and it starts you at that point and walks you all the way through dealing with you when you're delivering what you do. So that's the delivery aspect. Pick it apart, figure out if there's a way you can do it better. It's a great opportunity. Patient nurturing. So while we need to continue to focus on marketing and reaching out to new potential patients, we can't send our existing ones to the orphanage. So even if we haven't seen them for a while, how can we create a world-class relationship nurturing system? If you were one of your patients, how would you like to be looked after and kept in the loop? Through what media? How often? What kind of topics do you want to hear about? If you don't know these things, ask your patients, right? That in and of itself will be a great nurturing signal to them that you really want to engage with them on a value-add basis. How can you bring them what they need right now? If you don't know, ask. Is that something that you're finding, Craig, with because you've got clients who've been with you for ages on the accounting side? How are you finding that now?
I guess I had something I was going to say, and hopefully that'll answer your question, Jennifer. My question, I think, to the people on the line is, how many of you have actually touched base with your client base in the last 2 weeks? For example, I'm thinking dentistry. If I suddenly had a bad tooth and thought, can I go to the dentist? can I? You know, I've found out through a third party that my dentist is shut. Now, if I hadn't found that out, how would I know? And because if I didn't know, I'd probably be a little bit concerned when the phone wasn't answered, or, you know, what do I do if I have a dental problem through this period? Now, that's something that, you know, you should be doing. I mean, even from the medical fraternity, you know, are all medical centres open? Or do you have to go to the hospital? What is the story around this, you know? And you can't rely on the media to do your marketing in terms of them saying the right thing for you. And so, you know, everyone, I think, should have touched base with their client. And I mean, for us, we have. So we've probably touched base with our clients more in the last 2 weeks than we have done in the last 3 months. Now, we send out a regular newsletter. We send out regular emails with regard to getting our GSTs and bits and pieces in from the clients. But in terms of as soon as this level 3 hit and our level 4 hit, our clients needed to know what we were doing to support them. And so we've had a few emails out in that regard. And I think that's something you need to consider. If you haven't, get your piece of paper out, make a note. How do I get out to my clients, and what message do I want to let them know or let them know about?
Yeah, and it isn't just, I don't know about you, Craig, but I got so many messages in that first week. And you and I even talked about it with how you wanted to talk to your clients, but about we're still open for business. And during COVID, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I've gotten so many of these emails that I'm deleting them because I'm hearing from Harvey Norman. I'm hearing from strange places that I haven't visited in forever that are telling me that, you know, they're open during the, you know, level 2 or whatever it was at the time, or how they're managing. So make sure that what you're bringing out to your patients is something that you know they're going to want to know. So as Craig mentioned, are you open? What can they do? You know, if they're experiencing an issue, where do they need to go? Plus, you know, beyond the basics, you know, share with them helpful things, how-to videos. I mean, there's heaps of ways that you can stay in contact with your patients and make them feel loved, because we know that your patient attrition, you know, 67% of your patient attrition results from the fact that they kind of feel you don't care about them anymore. Or you've forgotten about them. So make sure to stay in touch with your patients. This is a really opportune time to do that, to cement those relationships so that you keep them longer term. All right, Craig, finances. I'm going to say a really brief thing, and this is all you. So when it comes to finances, creativity, we talk about getting creative during this time, may not really be a good thing if you're thinking creative accounting, but what opportunities do you have to tighten up and better manage your finances? And I got to say, if your accountant out there in your practices as you're listening right now hasn't been in touch with you over the past couple of weeks to keep you in the loop about what you can be doing to access government support, to negotiate your leases, to tweak how you compensate, you may want to consider finding one who will. Find somebody who's going to walk alongside you and look forward instead of backward. So I'm off my soapbox. Craig, take it away.
You're off your soapbox. Hey, look, it's a difficult thing. You know, there'll be accountants out there that are just so caught up with helping certain clients that they tend to forget about the others. And the stuff coming out of the government is coming out piecemeal. So there's little bits and pieces that, you know, today there'll be something and yesterday there'll be something else, and tomorrow will be another thing that comes out. You know, what we're all waiting for at the moment, for example, is there going to be any lease rebates? Because what they've provided so far is pretty much straight through to the employee. So from a business perspective, yes, you've had some cash flow in if you've applied for it. And if you haven't, you need to really seriously ask why. And if you don't know how, then ask. You know, send us a link through the chat or through an email and say, look, I haven't applied for the subsidy. How do I? Or go to your accountant. That's cool too. But effectively, that money that's come in is to go effectively out to your employees. So it's really not yours as a business owner. So what is the government going to be providing for a business owner? Now, we've heard that there's potentially going to be, you know, some tax breaks. Well, yep, some tax breaks. That's cool. That's long term. What about now? There's talks about lease subsidies. Well, they haven't been announced yet. Whether they will or they won't, we don't know. So it's about just keeping your ear to the ground. And if you don't know the question to ask your accountant. That's what they're there for. But the other person you should be seriously involved with at this present time is your bank manager. They've got opportunities for mortgage holidays, which you've probably read about with regard to housing, but they've also got opportunities for business finance to get through this period. And really all they're looking to see is that you have the ability to get through this period. They are in the same boat we are. They don't know what the answers are, but I think the ones who are taking the most or making the most effort to show that they're in control are the ones who will get through the other end and will be supported by their bank. So yeah, a couple of things on finances.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. There is help out there. It's just accessing it and knowing how to get to it. So basically what we're talking about is this is a time when you really need to pivot. And I found this definition of pivot recently. It's a change in strategy without a change in vision. And so even though pivot has become quite the catchphrase buzzword over the past couple of weeks, it's totally relevant. My favorite example of the word pivot, just because I'm American and I love American sports, is from basketball, where it means that a player who's holding the basketball can move in any direction while having one foot planted on the floor. So I see that as a really similar definition to this. The change in strategy means changing direction without changing the vision means they're keeping one foot planted on the floor. So to me, pivoting in your practice really means being able to move or adapt without losing sight of your purpose for doing what you do, right? That's the foot planted on the floor. When we're focused on our purpose and on people, we'll pivot in ways that serve everyone the best possible way, right? As leaders, it's all about others. It's not about us. So how can you serve during this time? And that's really what we've been talking about is with marketing, with conversion, with thinking about your existing clients. So there's really two specific areas that we really need to think about pivoting in. And the first, as I already mentioned, we talked about marketing, is your message. So when you're communicating those messages to the community, as well as to your existing clients, ensure that you're focused on delivering messages that reinforce calm, hope, and positive action. Tell them what you're doing. Be helpful. Tell them you know you're going to come through this and what's going to happen on the other side, specific actions you are taking now to get through this. Educate them. Let them get to know you. Brighten their day. Bring value. The second thing we need to pivot is how we deliver services, which we've talked about before. So even if you're operating behind closed doors, how can you help? How can you, sit down with your team and figure out what you can put out there and how your business needs to look? So that's pivoting. Now, another opportunity we have is time for reflection and self-development. How many of us have complained for years that we don't have time to really sit back and think and reflect? Well, most of us right now have just been given the gift of time. I know many of you are at home. Some of you on the call are still working and you're busier than ever. But those of you that might be home might be kind of climbing the walls, wondering when you're going to get back in the chair alongside your patients. That will happen. But for now, use this time to recharge, to upskill, to learn something new, to get back in touch with your why, your purpose for what you do. And maybe some of you are tuning into the free exercise that's coming on Channel 1, Les Mills, right, on TV. My daughter and I, my 18-year-old, did that the other morning, and she actually went a little too hard on the combat one and hurt her shoulder, but we had fun anyway. So maybe you're taking up meditation, maybe you're reading a book you wanted to pick up for a long time. I don't know what it is for you, but you will never get back the time that you've been given right now. So I think it's a matter, as my hubby, the psychologist, would say, of reframing, kind of reframing what's happening right now with time and shifting our mindsets to embrace it as a bit of a second chance in some areas. Would you agree with that, Craig?
Oh, definitely. And I think, I'm on a board of trustees at a local school, and they're already setting up programs for when we come out of lockdown. So they're already thinking about how they're going to be dealing with the next phase. Now, obviously, we don't know when that plan is going to go into place, but you need a plan. So, if you've got clients that would normally have had appointments during this 2-week period, what's your plan to get in touch with them? What's your plan to fill your business up again once we come out of lockdown and once we know what that will be looking like? So it's not a case of we know when it will happen, but you plan for when it will happen so that as soon as you get the green light, you're ready to go. Whereas I think you'll find some people will get the green light and go, oh, what do we do? How do we do that?
Yep.
And they will lose another week or so. So, I agree everything that Jennifer said in terms of recharging and, upskilling yourself during this period, but don't forget there's a future you need to be planning for. Use this time wisely.
Hey, accountants and dentists aren't hairdressers. Hairdressers are going to be overrun as soon as we can all get back into seeing each other and working together again. So what can we all do to ensure that we've got full diaries on the other side of this, right? It's a great opportunity to think forward, access help, talk to somebody about it. 3 questions around this, and I'll end on this particular topic, but 3 questions to ask each day. How will this situation make me better? This is during that self-reflection time, right? How will I use this situation to help other people? And what action will I take that will improve my situation? So those are 3 really good self-reflective questions that you can ask yourself every day. And again, that's that focus on helping yourself by helping others and being of value and being of use and being calm and thinking forward. Cool. This is a great time to relationship build and relationship strengthen. So as we've talked about, social distancing versus physical distancing, we don't want to disconnect from the people who give us energy and who we in turn can lift up. So we're discovering new ways of connecting and being able to talk and socialize. We've now got more time with our kids if we have them, and they're loving it. So yesterday, my 18-year-old and I went on a overseas trip to a place that we've always wanted to visit, right? So we went online, we searched up Airbnbs to stay in, we identified activities we wanted to do. We made little presentations and we kind of brought those back to each other and did a presentation on the trips that we wanted to take. There's heaps of fun and things that you can do with those loved ones around you at this time. We're connecting with family members who maybe we haven't spoken to in months or years. What a gift. Sometimes we take each other for granted when we're in those long-term relationships, eh? And I think that same thing happens with our existing patients, those who have been coming to our practice for a long time or for years. Sometimes we neglect them a bit, don't we? It isn't intentional, but we start to take them for granted. Oh, they've been a patient for 5 years. I don't need to worry about them. They're on autopilot. Yes, you do. Get in touch. Ask them how they're coping. Reach out and see if there's anything that you can do. So strengthen those ties. Are there suppliers or referral sources that you haven't been in touch with for a while? Offer support, reach out to them, find out if there's any way that you can help. People are going to remember that and that you reached out and that you cared when this is all finished, right? Craig, are you finding that you've got folks reaching out to you from different places that you haven't heard from in a while?
Oh, yeah, there's that happening, and I think as you're talking through that, Jennifer, I'm thinking, it's not just the team who are on the call today. You've got a wider team who they're probably thinking, what am I doing? What reason have I got to get out of bed? I might be getting paid a smaller amount of money, but I've got nothing to do. Here's a classic example of send them a list, split your list into the number of team members you've got and say, look, just touch base with our clients, just see that they're all okay. And, maybe even have a script written that they can just, if the questions come, which possibly will, that they've got the answers that are going to work. So, an example of what we did is our team, we had a discussion 10 days ago, how are we going to get through this lockdown? Because we're all stuck at home with family, most of us. Even if it's not kids, it's going to be your spouse. And so we decided that we would work half days. So effectively we work from 9 till 1 so that we have the other half of the day available for our family, because it's going to be one of these experiences that I think the memory will be about what we did as a family, not so much that mum or dad was stuck in the office for 8 hours. And so it's coming up with those different ways of getting through this next period of time.
And that's a really good point about giving the team productive things to do, right? So even though they're, they still have a job, they're getting paid. What else can they do to make them feel productive and have a purpose during all this? And my husband's receptionist is a classic example of that. She's working from home. She's really only needed a couple days a week. They're considered essential services, but everybody's working remotely. So our local MP had put out a call to psychologists and counselors and things in the area saying, can you please give a call and check on the seniors in our community? Well, Josh put his hand up and said, hey, my receptionist, she'd be great at that. So she's doing that now from home and calling in and checking on folks in our community. But it's not work, what she would normally do, but it's something to do that's really helping.
It's also a great time to get your database up to date. The number of times an email address might fall off or whatever it might be. You've got people who are probably looking for something to do. They've been 2 and a bit weeks now into lockdown. Actually nearly 3 when I think about it. It's Wednesday today. So, you know, use the time wisely.
Cool. And obviously focus on what you can control. There's heaps of things that we don't have the answers to right now. As we adequately pointed out, there's heaps of things we don't know. We're kind of learning as we go in this. So focus on what you do have control over. And one of the obvious ones is your attitude, right? Every morning when you wake up, you choose to be optimistic and hopeful or not, even when you don't have all the answers. So you choose your attitude. And your team feels this, right? So even if you get over Zoom, and it was interesting because I was on a call the other day with a group of people, and the feel was just a bit heavy, and you know, for good reason. But I think there were a couple of folks who were allowing themselves to be down in the depths a bit too long, and it had really started to get to them, and it was spreading. So it was interesting. Your attitude is key.
We had a little saying up on our fridge for the kids as they're growing older, or as they're growing up, I should say. Effectively, it went along the lines of, a bad attitude is like a flat tire. You're not going to get anywhere until you change it.
Yep, perfect. So you're also in control of what you focus on right now. And I would venture to say that every single one of us on the call right now are high achievers. We thrive on action. We thrive on deadlines. So manufacture those for yourself if you need to give yourself a sense of purpose each day if you're not able to be in your office. One of my favorite tricks to stay productive, even when I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, is to identify 3 top priorities for each day, and just 3. So those are going to differ for each one of you based on whether you're able to work right now or not. If you can't work, what things do you want to accomplish around the house or for your own self-development? If you are working, this is a great tool to help you focus on achieving something that'll give you a great return on investment each day. You know, take that long to-do list that stretches out for your entire forearm and break it down to 3 things. What am I focused on achieving today? The other thing that you're in control of is your day. How are you using your time? Are you putting some boundaries like around your workspace or work time? Are you making time for exercise, getting sleep, spending quality time with your family? And I think Craig's point of, you know, hey, can you really be, is it realistic for people to be productive from home 8 hours a day, or does it make more sense right now to be really focused for a half a day and then spend the rest of your time with your family? You will never get this time back, right? So what memories, what fun things are you going to create with those you love? And you're in control of your learning. How are you going to use this time to upskill and get better at what you do and how you do it? It's totally up to you. I have no idea what you need to do, but you know what you can do in your practice to make things even more effective and even better. So use this time to dive into that. And don't be afraid to reach out for help, right? You're in control of putting your hand up and getting support when you need it, whether it's around the financial stuff and the government help that's available right now, whether it's around marketing, messaging, and tone and where to put it. Don't be afraid. Go to your inner circle. Go to professionals you know can help. Get in touch with us. Whatever's right for you, reach out for the help. So when we show up for others, sorry, I'm moving my notes down. This basically, the crisis is going to reveal what's inside each one of us right now. So we're showing up for those we lead. And for you, we do this every month for you guys, totally free of charge. I hope it's helpful for you. How will you show up for those you lead? What positive action can you take today that's going to help you stay the course and come out the other side of this stronger? Now, as I mentioned before, we can send you that +1% worksheet to help you look at every aspect of your patient contact so that you can create an even better patient experience. Send us an email. There's our email right there. Put something in chat. Put something in the Q&A. I don't care where you put it, we'll capture it, right? So we'll get the information to you. Jonathan's in the background and he's helping me capture information there, which is awesome. So team, do you happen to have questions for us today? Is there something that we've talked about that you need clarification on or that you want to ask us with just a couple of minutes to go? I've got a couple more things to share with you about what's coming up, but we'd like to take a second and just answer a question or two if you have them. So type into your Q&A. We'll give you a second. Something we didn't cover that you'd like to know, you'd want more information on. Question for Craig on finances. We'll put him on the spot.
Can I see it? No, good.
What was that?
I thought you said a question to come through on finances, and I said good, and then I didn't find it.
Oh, no, there is a one. So going once, team, going twice, sold. All right, so no Q&A for the moment. Email us a question if you can think of one. We're perfectly fine with that, right?
Jennifer, speak quickly, 4 minutes, we keep to 1 hour.
Yeah, we're good. Yep. Questions, Q&A, we went through that. All right, so what we're doing right now, team, to help you is we've pulled together a couple of short-term interventions. Normally, this isn't something that we do, but we know there's folks out there with questions and who need support around a few different things right now. So we pulled together what we call our 3x3. So it's 3 short-term interventions. Each one is 3 weeks long, short, sharp, and helpful, and priced right. So 3 weeks of leadership coaching, right? This basically is geared to help you understand your leadership style through providing you with your customized DISC report from a leadership perspective. Coaching sessions to help you learn to leverage your strengths as a leader and influencer and mitigate your challenges, and insights into building stronger connections with your team. So that's the first short-term intervention we've got. The second one is 3 weeks of team webinars. What a great time to train your team, right? 3 times 40 minutes of training webinars with your team around personal resilience, DISC communication overview to help them understand how to better communicate with each other and with your clients, and effective teams. What does it take to be a world-class team? So 3 weeks of team webinars and 3 weeks of marketing support. So many people come back and say, I don't know how to say what I want to say right now. What bits of value make sense for me to be putting out right now? I don't understand. Can you help? So that's 3 weeks of coaching sessions to help you clarify your target market and what they need, identify what value you can share right now, and sort out what channels might make sense for you. So those are 3 things that we're offering you right now that are totally outside the square of kind of the types of interactions that we do, but we know they can be helpful. So right now, if any of those can be helpful to you, do one of 2 things. Type leadership, team, or marketing into the Q&A or chat button right now, or email us, put leadership, team, or marketing in the subject line, and we'll come back to you today with more information so that you know what's involved in that. So hopefully that can be helpful to you. And we'll show you what we've got coming up next. Obviously, why that's important, we want to grow you so that you can grow yourself and grow your team. So coming up in May, resilience, right? We're going to run a session around resilience using little strategies that can help you in the little in-between times when you're really busy to stay sane. How to reframe your attitude or rewire yourself, and a great team, kind of a team building or team culture exercise. In June, we're going to cover growth. Coming out of this, the other side of this, how does that look? What does it need to look like? And in July, we're going to be talking about communication. All right, so we're going to be focusing in a little bit on some of that DISC overview for you. So hopefully that's helpful. And that is us.
And for those
today.
For those who saw the list last month in terms of what we're going to be putting out for the next few months, we're not going to apologise for changing it. The whole COVID-19 has forced change on everybody. So what we have always been about is providing the best help to those around us. So we have tweaked what we do so that we get a better outcome for those who tune in.
Awesome. So team, I'm going to type it, put myself up here one last time so I can say goodbye to you. Thanks so much for joining us today. Do get in touch with us if we can help you, and we'll see you next month. Wait, I've got one Q&A up here. Let's make sure it's not a question. Great. Awesome. I'll come back to you on that, Co. I appreciate that question. Thanks, team.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Keep well,
Bye.
keep safe.
Hi, Jen Myers here. I hope you enjoyed that video and it got you thinking about how to implement that topic into your practice. If you have any questions whatsoever, myself or Craig, we are more than happy to answer questions for you and help you understand how to apply what you've just watched and what you've just heard into your specific practice in your unique situation. So please click the button that says book a meeting, and we are more than happy to spend a few minutes with you going through the information and how you can apply it. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.